You can fire away.
Just a couple of injury updates. Ristolainen and Forrester. Obviously, we saw Tyson skating out there the last few days in the non-contact jerseys. Yeah. Can you update us on where they are health-wise?
It's looking good on that front. Risto is moving ahead. We knew all along that he wouldn't start the season, but everything's moving and looking good for him to meet up with the team in hopefully the first month and a half, 2 months of the season at some point. So on that front, it's trending in the right direction. Tyson, kind of the same thing there. He's in a non-contact jersey to start training camp, but within the first week, we should be able to remove that and have him, be able to take physicality and hopefully later in camp getting in some games if everything keeps going in the right direction. So pretty positive there. I know Jet, we kept him out of the rookie camp. Jet Luchenko's looking good on that front. He'll be a full participant on the ice starting Thursday with the big group. And then is there anybody else? Bunk. So it just popped up. He was supposed to play the rookie games, and then something upper body popped up on him. We thought he'd be fine to play the next game, and things are not moving out or as quickly as we expected. So we are having him. He had some images taken this morning. We're just waiting for the doctors to give us a little bit more of an update once they're able to read it all.
What's the hurdle that Forster has to clear? Because we see him out there. Sanheim was kind of looked like he was testing him physically. What does he have to? Is it what has to happen for you guys to know that he's fine to take contact again? I guess
it's testing it. And our trainers want to go through the process. They wanted to protect him as long as possible. And yeah, he's starting to test it early in camp. We don't want to just throw him out right away. We want to, they have a process in place and steps to go through. And the other thing too is, there's in a gym, a lot of things he couldn't do. So his training was set back a little bit. So it's making sure that the strength matches and giving him a few extra weeks to, keep that or catching up with that strength in his arm to make sure, it doesn't go the wrong way, I guess.
This may just be a quick oversight, but we got the rosters today, the training camp rosters. Yegor Zamol wasn't on it. Is he fine, or was that just an oversight?
Probably. Okay. Yeah, he's, as far as I know.
Danny, when you project and look at the camp roster and when you guys will eventually get closer to what you think it will be opening night, where do you think there's open competition? And realistically, how many roster spots do you maybe see up for grabs?
There's a few, and that I think a big part of it is the development of our young guys, pushing for spots. In the rookie games, I thought Grabenkin and Bump looked good. So, they're going to be some of the guys pushing. Obviously, Jet Luchenko is in that mix. I thought Gaucher, Nesbitt, and Barkey really stood out as well in those rookie games. They're maybe in that next layer, but they've been really impressive as well. And on defense, it's interesting. Grans and Andre Bunk was going to be in that. I don't know. We're waiting to see, but he's in that mix as well. And we added Jolson and Gilbert that are also pushing for jobs. So there's actually a few, and I don't know the exact roster spots that we have available because we have different options. We could go with 13 or 14 forwards. We could go 7 or 8D. So those are all things depending on how guys perform during camp that we're going to evaluate.
This is the first time we're talking to you since you traded Ivan the other day. what does that speak to the depth you have at the position? Were you just looking for roster, salary cap flexibility? Can you just take us through the thought mindset there?
A little bit of everything. One of the big thing is it helps, gives us a little bit more space, salary cap wise, because we were close. It gives us the option now of keeping a little bit more freely 23 roster players if we want to. And the fact is Carson Bjarnason turning pro, he's a prospect that we want to develop, and having two guys that were probably going to take ice time away from him in his development, we wanted to clear the path there a little bit for him to play. Obviously now we see Kolosov as the number 3. But clearly now Carson will be the number 4, and will get some games and hopefully pushes and earns more starts as the season goes by. So it clears up some space for our young guys. And look, Kolosov was a rough season for him last year. Didn't play a lot. I don't need to go back into that situation, but it's important for him to play a lot of games this year. He's still young. He's still, a prospect, and it kind of opens the door for him to play more games and to start probably in the American League, and just find his game, find his confidence, find the swagger that we had seen from him the previous few seasons in the KHL.
And there's no worry about him going back to the KHL then this year?
No.
No.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, none of that exists at this point.
Danny, we spoke to Keith Jones and Dan Hilferty last week, and when they were talking about expectations for the season, they said that playoffs aren't necessarily a requirement for the season to be a success, but we need to improve.
Yeah.
We need to show dramatic improvement. Obviously, you guys finished down near the bottom of the standings last year. Why are you confident that this team can improve this season?
Well, we added a few guys. There's still there's going to be some interesting fights for. We talked. He asked me the question about the roster spots, but there's going to be some, I guess, internal fighting for responsibilities, and that's what I'm excited about. Adding a guy like Zegras, we're all kind of wondering where are things going to develop for him. He was a tremendous player for his first 2 years in Anaheim, and then he got hit into some injuries. Can he refine that form that he had a couple years ago? Adding a guy like Dvorak, he plugs a big hole down the middle for us and help some of the young guys develop. The development of, you saw Michkov, Forster last year, Cates and Brink take a step in their game. And that's also part of the reason why, some of the guys lost responsibilities and gave us the chance to, reset in some form. The trade of Farabee, Frost, Lawton. The reality is those guys were starting to lose responsibilities because our young guys were starting to step up. Now we have more young guys that are pushing. And that to me is what is exciting, is nobody can be comfortable or happy with what they've done in the past. They got to keep getting better and better. And that includes all our veterans, because our young guys are starting to push, and they want more, and they're hungry for more. And the following year, we're going to have more of these young guys that will be pushing, guys like Martone, maybe Berglund, maybe Nesbitt. So that's really where it's exciting for me. And we expect more of a fight internally. And we hope that it's going to make us better. It's going to hopefully make us more competitive throughout the season, and maybe push to get closer to the playoffs. At the end of the day, we want to make the playoffs. It's not like, okay, yeah, it's not the priority, but we still want to make the playoffs. And I want the players to keep pushing in that direction.
Is this like a clean slate for everyone in that regard because of Ritaka coming in?
A lot of it, yeah. And, for some of the guys that had certain responsibilities, you can't take it for granted. And it's kind of the message every year, but even more so this year with a new coaching staff and the fact that we have, new addition and some young guys that are pushing. So nobody should be comfortable with what they've had in the past. And the new addition, the new players should be excited about the chance for more responsibility.
What's it been like working? What's it been like working? I mean, it's only a short time and it's been the summer, but what's it been like working with Rick Toffler so far?
It's been awesome. It's been great. He's getting to know the players more and more. Because you're a new coach, new organization, so he's asking a lot of questions, which is cool. But he's also starting to make his own opinion. During rookie camp, watching the guys, watching the games. Now he's getting a clearer picture of what's coming. But it's been great sharing thoughts, and I've been really impressed with him and his coaching staff and the way they're breaking the game down, and what they want to implement going into this year.
When you talk about clean slate, is Cam York somebody who maybe more than anybody else kind of needs that? Obviously, you showed what the organization thinks of him with the 5-year contract, but is he a guy that, whatever issues he had before, there's more to his game than
we certainly believe that. Yes, we think he's got more. We think he's closer to what he was 2 years ago than last season. And I could say the same thing about Drysdale. I'm really excited for those two guys going into this season.
He
Jones is already.
talked about just unlocking more of the offensive side of his game, and I also talk about this. He had Quinn Hughes, Cam followed Quinn.
You're talking about Yorkie?
Yeah. Cam followed Quinn at the national team program. Is there, obviously he's not going to be Quinn Hughes, but can you kind of get him on that path?
We believe so.
Focus?
Yeah, we believe so. We believe there's more in there. He's rounded his game nicely. I mean, when I first saw him, the first time I saw him, I never thought he'd become as good of a defender as he's become, and he's fierce. I've been really impressed by how brave he is to go retrieve puck down deep, taking hits, blocking shots, taking some. Being willing to put his body on the line. I've been really impressed with that side of his game. And I think there's more offensively that, hasn't come out yet.
Keith Jones said last week that, the plan is obviously not to sell players at the trade deadline like you guys have the last 2 years, but, no one knows where you're going to be in February, right? Is that the message basically from you to the team, is that, you're almost challenging them, like, if you guys put yourself in a good spot, we're not going to have to sell players. We'll
Absolutely
keep together and make a run. How do you, I guess, convey that message?
Absolutely. And some of the young guys that have, not young guys, older guys that have been around now the last couple of years, you're good going into the season knowing that, if we're not in the playoff spot, we're probably going to trade players. That's not the goal going into this year. But obviously, they have to hold their end of the bargain too. They have a job to do to get us there for that to not happen. Obviously, if we're going to have to look into it if we're not where we want it to be. But going into the season, certainly the message is we expect our team to take a step forward and try to help them, but not at the detriment of the future of this organization. We don't feel we're there. We're still kind of building this thing brick by brick, and that's the approach still going now. If there's an opportunity, we're going to jump on it, but we're still in the early stages of where we want to take this organization.
I guess on the macro level, and to follow up to Kevin's question, you guys want to improve. That's the expectation, improvement. What happens if you guys don't? What happens if you don't take a step? If you're again in the bottom 5 of the league, you've mentioned about how you guys are done subtraction mode. But if you guys don't take a step, do you get back into subtraction mode?
We might have to. I mean, it's not off the table. It's not what we're, I guess, looking to do at the moment. We want to keep helping the team improve and put them in a position to take a step forward. But yeah, the players will decide. And we've said that from day one. The players will have a big say in that. but at the same time, there's a lot of young players that we need to be patient with. They're starting to take steps, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time in the NHL. It's the best league in the world for a reason. So there's going to be some ups and downs throughout the year. We're just, hopefully not going to be in a position where we want to go in that direction again, where we move assets out to get younger or looking for draft picks. Ideally, if we do make some moves, it would be more for players that can help, in maybe not quite just like right now, but like not a draft pick. Hopefully it's a prospect that's almost ready to help us. I think we're shifting away, hopefully, from only draft picks and looking a little bit more at prospects.
You were talking about Cam York and Drysdale, obviously critical players on your blue line. Emil Andre is a guy you've seen flashes from on a league-wide basis, so the trend is maybe go a little bit bigger on the blue line. So what does Emil essentially have to do? What do you need to see from him for him to be part of the mix on your NHL?
Well, we saw some flashes early last year. His first recall, he was controlling the game. You watched him play, and he was. It felt like he was in charge out there. And then later in the season, that kind of went away. And the reality is, with his stature, we're going to need the Emil that we saw early in the season for him to stick around and to have an impact on the game, to stay here. That's what we're looking from him.
Goaltending, and you were last in the league last year in save percentage, and you addressed it in Dan Vladar. But do you feel like that is a position that your progress can really hinge on how much goaltending, how much saves you get in net, or do you view it more as a team-wide kind of collective effort?
Well, I said it at the end of the year, it wasn't good enough, but I think the players also have to take some of the responsibilities as well. I expect the goaltending to be better, no doubt about it. I think also the system might protect them a little better. That Rick Tocchet and his staff is going to put forth. But yeah, we expect the goaltending to be better. I think Vladar will come in and probably be a little bit more support for Sam. But we do believe in Sam still. Now he's shown, he's had some flashes. I think with Sam having a guy there to protect him and not him having to, or expecting him to play, 3 games a week, should probably help Sam in the long run. That's my feeling. But Sam is still developing, and we still believe in him.
Danny, obviously, Carter Hart is eligible to sign a contract on October 15th. Is that something you guys are willing to are you willing to speak to whether you're interested in that or not?
So the only comment I'll make on that is that his representative, Judd Moldaver, has reached out and kind of told us that in light of everything that happened in the last year and a half with Carter, they felt and Carter felt that it was better for them to look for a fresh start. So that's where it's at, and it's the only comment I'm going to make on it.
Both Dan and Jonesy said that they have confidence in your work and your timeline and so forth. How important is it for everybody to sort of be on the same page here as far as taking the patient approach to the future?
Well, we've had the support of Dan Hilferty from day one as far as the support. And I'll go back to what I was saying, 2 years ago. The goal is to build a team that's going to become a contender for years to come. That the goal is not just to make the playoffs 1 year, get knocked out, disappear for 2 years. We want to build a team, and that's why it's not just about making the playoffs. It's about building a team that eventually will have a shot at winning some rounds and winning a Stanley Cup for years to come and be there year after year. So yes, we've been very fortunate to have Dan Hilferty believe in us. and the support of our fans is critical. And I can't wait. The toughest part is to be patient, even for me. Sometimes you want to do some moves that could help you in right now, and that's the tough part. But I try to remind myself that the goal is to build a team that's going to be sustaining that level for years to come, and not just for 1 year and then reset after the year and try a different way again. So I really appreciate it, what the fans' patience and Dan Hilferty and his crew for that support.
One or two more. What are your expectations for Matvei Michkov in year 2?
To keep improving, to keep finding more consistency. Obviously, we're all excited about what he's shown last year and what he can become. But yeah, the biggest thing for him is to keep improving on that, and to keep showing that game after game. And look, it's not just him, right? It's any rookies, you go through that. And it's tough. And it's tough to. I remember as a player that one of the toughest thing is, you have those ups and downs, and instead of having those big waves, is having those little bumps along the way, and that comes with experience. It comes with time, and that's what I want to see from him, is those downs. Maybe they're not as dramatic, and those bad games are not as bad. After a while, it becomes, instead of one bad game, it becomes one bad period, and then eventually it's just one bad shift, and and that takes time. Every rookie goes through it. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking for from him this year.
There's obviously a whole lot of big name players that have still not re-signed. I won't mention any names, but haven't re-signed with their respective clubs and could be free agents next year. From an organizational standpoint, I know you're trying to improve because you want to just start taking steps in the right direction. But is it also about showing the rest of the league, and maybe showing some of these players that could be available, that this is a place where you're going the right direction, you're moving the ball the right way, so that maybe if one of these guys does hit free agency, they look at the Flyers as a potential destination?
Well, we've said it from day one that we're trying to, yes, again, we want to become a destination. But when we do our plans, we don't plan with the expectation that one of those guys is going to be free. We want to do it to get the team in the right direction. And when we plan, we look at, okay, yeah, we're going to save some cap space, but it could also be for, a Matvei Michkov, who keeps getting better and better, and Tyson Forster, who keeps getting better and better, and all those young guys that are coming. It doesn't mean that we're looking to go on the outside to do that. But we want to be a destination, and destination also that our players that are here appreciate what they have and want to stay here. That's why we do it. Now, if something comes up down the road in 3, 4, 5 years and it works, yeah, hopefully, there's a team or a player that gets us overboard and wants to play here. But most importantly, is doing it for the players that are here, and that they want to stay here and want to keep, pouring their hearts out in the off season to get ready for the season, and willing to put everything on the line every single game to get our team better and better.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, guys.